everything is affecting your health. All the things that you suspect impacting your health, like your job, the food you eat, the music you listen to, the weather, everything that you suspect is impacting your health is impacting your health. Now, whether or not it's impacting your health in the way you think it is, that's, I think, the open question. I'm Heather Grzych, and this is the Wisdom of the Body podcast. This podcast explores the idea of body intelligence as the real key to learning the knowledge of life, or what we call Ayurveda in the ancient language of Sanskrit. We do that by connecting with today's creative leaders and experts who will help you listen to your body, trust your gut, and live in deeper harmony with nature. Come join me as we unlock the golden door to clear, direct perception and become very deep listeners. You can find the Wisdom of the Body podcast on Apple, Spotify, and Stitcher. You can also follow us by joining my email at heathergrzych.com or on Instagram at heathergrzych. I know you're going to love this podcast, so take a second right now to subscribe. Welcome back to the Wisdom of the Body podcast, where we are exploring the timeless wisdom of body intelligence and our connection with nature. I'm your host, Heather Grzych, and I have an inspiring story for you today to highlight the incredible potential of Ayurveda, which is, I think, a very little understood form of healthcare today. So I'm excited to get into this with you. I'm going to share a client story. I want to tell you about one of my clients. Her name is Lisa. And when she first reached out, she didn't feel so great. She embarked on this journey in Ayurveda, and she experienced remarkable improvements in her health. And the journey for her began with a lot of stress and a lot of confusion and a lot of things going wrong in her body, and sort of feeling like her body was failing her and not doing what it was told or whatever, just really not understanding what was actually happening with her body. And then later, she unexpectedly felt incredibly better through Ayurveda. So yeah, really great story. Lisa was in her late 30s when I met her, and she had a range of health issues. Her hair was thinning. She had digestive issues. Her skin was getting breakouts, not just on her face, but in other places. And she was going to all these different specialists, and her doctors are like, "You're fine." And she's like, "I don't feel fine." And then she bought all these fancy products, all these like beauty products. And she heard about through, social media influencers, which she thought were going to help. They were very expensive, right? Shouldn't they help? But they kind of only sort of help. They didn't really help. And okay, so hair is one of these things where, especially for women, when the hair quality suffers, it really affects our self-esteem. It is a big deal. It's a big deal. And anybody who's ever had thinning hair, and this happens for various reasons, if you've had this happen to you, that this is a very difficult journey. And people may want to wear hats to cover it up, or they're going to worry about parting their hair in a certain way. And like some people socially start to disengage because they feel very embarrassed about what's going on in their hair. And so they might not go out, and they may start to like pull away from people when this happens to them. Especially for women, it's a little somehow like more socially acceptable for like a man to lose his hair. But when this happens to a woman where it starts thinning, it's very difficult. So people will also try all sorts of products to fix this. And, there are whole industries in certain countries where people will go and get hair plugs and all this stuff put in. So I'm really amazed at how much money people will spend on this particular problem, and especially on beauty products, and how little time people will spend on focusing on the things that are actually creating a lasting natural beauty, which is what we're all about helping people do in Ayurveda, natural beauty that lasts. And Lisa's introduction to Ayurveda came because she had a friend who had worked with me. So when she came to me, she was really super hopeful. But at the same time, I think she had a lot of doubts because she felt like she had tried everything, and she didn't think anybody would be able to help her because nobody could help her so far. And honestly, I think she reached out to me only as like a last resort on her journey here. A lucky last resort because we got some results. So when she came to me for guidance, we went through this process together to conduct an Ayurvedic assessment. And you don't get out of initial consultation with me without being in that consultation for at least 75 minutes. I mean, if you're lucky, you get out of there in 75 minutes. But a lot of times we need over 90 minutes just for a first consultation. And it turns out there are a lot of things that impact your health, and we actually need to get as much as possible on the table. Everything is affecting your health. All the things that you suspect impacting your health, like your job, the food you eat, the music you listen to, the weather, everything that you suspect is impacting your health is impacting your health. Now, whether or not it's impacting your health in the way you think it is, that's, I think, the open question. But everything you suspect is affecting you is affecting you. So when you do a consultation like this, you get to understand your unique constitution. You also get to understand any kind of imbalances that are going on with you, any kind of toxicity that's in the body, but not just that, okay? You also get to understand what is causing it, what's contributing to it, what are all the things. And sometimes it doesn't all come out in a first consultation, but a lot of it will come out in the first consultation. So you get to learn what, and people always say, I want to get at the root cause of disease. I want to get at the root cause of disease. Well, unless you spend time really investigating what's happening in a 360-degree view, you can't get at the root cause. So you got to take some time to do it, because your hair is something that's formed as a byproduct of the nourishment of your body. So all the cells here are being made by nourishment. The cells and tissues of your body everywhere are all being made by nourishment. So it's when the hair is in a certain condition, it's tied to maybe the condition of other tissues in the body as well. So if there's a depletion in one tissue, you might see also some depletion in your hair. Then the question is, why would a tissue become depleted when most of us are getting a fair amount of nourishment? We have enough money to buy food. We have comfortable lives. We generally have ready access to delicious food and easy to prepare foods that are nutrient rich. So the reason this happens is because the foods that we take in, they all have different properties to them. Like certain foods are drying, certain foods are oily, certain foods are cooling, certain foods are heating. They all have different properties to them. And the nutrition is what's in the food. Okay. So the nutrition is what is in the food that can be utilized by the body. But only by studying the digestion and the assimilation of that nutrition can you start to see and get a sense of how that nutrition is mixing together in that body, like the inner chemistry set, and then being used to turn into the cells and tissues of that body, which will have a certain quality to them. So sometimes things don't mix optimally because a person may have had a food that wasn't appropriate for that body. That body didn't want that food or need that food. Maybe the mind wanted that food and needed that food. Sometimes a person may have mixed together foods that are not optimal. Like, so in the inner chemistry set, they get together and they form something that the body doesn't like. Or maybe somebody basically ate something at the wrong time. So these are examples of how something can go wrong. Or maybe you just literally ate the wrong food for you. So if a person with a dry body eats a dry food like popcorn, then something very different is going to happen with that food in that body versus if a person with a very wet and oily and drippy body has popcorn. Different things are going to happen when those two people eat that popcorn. Or say you just had like an iced latte. Say you just had an iced latte and then you go to eat a salad after that. Well, you just dulled your digestive enzymes by having an iced latte. So if you go to eat that salad afterwards, there's not going to be a lot of enzymes available to process that salad. And then the salad doesn't digest well. And then your belly hurts and all this stuff goes wrong after that. So sometimes you just have something at the wrong time as well. And then that can create challenges. So in Lisa's case, she was eating like she was one of these gluten-free people because she had digestive issues. So she's thinking, oh, I shouldn't eat gluten because I have digestive issues. And she was eating gluten-free for a while and she never had any confirmed gluten allergy. But she was still eating all these prepackaged foods that said, quote unquote, gluten-free on them because she was worried about setting off her digestive issues. A lot of people do this, but no gluten allergy. You know, she's trying to solve it, but she's going based on the best she has at the time. So it turned out that a lot of the foods that she was eating were actually dry. These prepackaged foods, a lot of them are dry, and they're actually stripping the moisture out of the gut lining. And she probably was making things worse by doing this. She thinks she's doing something good for her gut, but she was actually doing something that wasn't so great for her gut. she probably would have been better off just having the bread with the olive oil and the salt and the balsamic vinegar and having the couple sips of water so that she would have maintained that proper moisture through the gut and it wouldn't have irritated things so badly as it went through. But she didn't realize that. And also, when we get stressed or when we really focused on something in our lives, we oftentimes forget that we have a body. We forget, we don't pay attention to it. So sometimes things are going on and we're just ignoring them for a very long time. Or maybe we're not sleeping well. And if we don't sleep well, then things will further deplete us or inflame us, things like that. And then a lot of people do have environmental toxicity around them. So it's a challenge to maintain balance in our lives because imbalances is a challenge. Balance is a challenge. Imbalances start as something small and then they grow into something big if the pattern isn't changed. They get subtly worse. But if you're not paying attention, then you're more likely for these imbalances to get worse. And I know most people work hard in their lives. Most people are busy and don't have a lot of time and don't think about their body. Sometimes the body is and themselves, sometimes it's the last thing that people even think about. So, we implemented some changes and the digestion got better, the skin got better. And the coolest moment was when 3 months into us working together, she sent me a picture on her phone and she's like, look, she had all these little baby hairs on her head. And that was the most rewarding thing that happened from working with her. It was so wonderful. She was good. She was a good client. She did everything that, we talked about. You can't take on too much with these things because you can only change so much in your life at a time, right? So you have to understand how much you can take on at a time. And I think she really understood that and she felt better. And I was really proud of her. And again, I'm just so amazed by the power of Ayurveda and what happens when we start to realign with nature and our body's connection with nature and understanding things on a really simple level and how the body feels about it. Really, it's so important. And your body's regenerating constantly. So there's always room to get better because your body is always regenerating and what you do matters. So yay, Lisa. Super proud of her. If you are embarking on a fertility journey and are ready to have your mind blown about what your body is really capable of and how it's impacted by the environment, then check out my book, The Ayurvedic Guide to Fertility. You can actually download the introduction to the book for free on my website at heathergrzych.com. That's Heather, Grzych.com. Read the intro for free and then buy the rest of this fertility enlightening book pretty much anywhere books are sold. I get so excited. I get this kind of goosebump feeling when I get a booking from a new client that I haven't met yet. And I get so excited because I know that somebody has made a decision to go really, really, really deep into their healing. Because I know that Ayurveda is not a quote unquote normal thing that many people have access to, at least not in the United States where I live. So I know that when someone books with me, that they've really made a decision that they want to go deep into their healing. And so you could do that on my website at heathergrzych.com. That's Heather, Grzych.com. You can book me for either a Ayurvedic consultation if you're ready to dive in, or you can also book me for a 15-minute connection call if you're not sure where to go yet. I do have a couple offerings that are not on my website, and we could talk about that. So I look forward to meeting you. Thank you for tuning in and dropping in with us today. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. I really want to hear your feedback. To learn more about my work, visit heathergrzych.com. That's Heather, Grzych.com. And meet me here next time on The Wisdom of the Body.